Hi everyone, this is Carolyn Speaks, the State of Our World on Saturday, July 4th, 2020. Let's see what we have here. Well, as usual, the coronavirus is still with us. 2.8 million people in the U.S. have the virus. Um, I believe people have passed away from the virus is now over 130,000 in the U.S. Now, we still need to do social distancing, shelter in place, only go out when you have to, wear a mask, wear gloves if needed, uh, do only go where you need to go, like to get groceries or the doctor, go to the drugstore. Be mindful of the people out there who are working very hard to keep us safe. People in grocery stores, essential workers like farm workers, healthcare workers, first responders, police, uh, fire, other emergency services. They're out there doing their best to protect us. Truck drivers. Um, and so we have to protect them by not going out when it's not necessary, because you can make them sick or cause them to pass away. So remember, be vigilant in protecting not only yourself and your loved ones, but other people who you may come in contact with. Stay safe. Keep them safe. Now, also, voting is important. We have an election coming up in November. It's a big one, presidential election. A lot of governors are running for election, senators, and in the U.S. House, U.S. Senate, members of the U.S. House, they're up for election every 2 years. State legislatures, state governors, local officials, mayors, county officials, etc. So make sure you're registered to vote and then participate actively in the election. Support actively the candidates you are interested in and the issues you're interested in. Just voting is not enough. You have to be an active participant. Now, we have to test everybody to find out who has this virus. If they have the virus, they test positive. Trace their contacts. Any of their contacts test positive, trace their contacts. Those who have tested positive for the virus, treat them, give them the medical care they need, get them into quarantine for as long as necessary to keep us all safe. Remember the vulnerable populations that are in danger from this virus. Farm workers, agricultural workers, all kinds of first responders, essential workers, and veterans and veterans homes, people living in assisted living homes, retirement homes, nursing homes, people who are not living anyplace, who are living in shelters or they're living on the street. So we have various cities around the country are working and finding temporary shelters for people who are homeless. That's something really needs to be done. Now, today is the 4th of July, which celebrates our independence, of July 4th, 1776, when the American colonies declared their independence from England, and there were all kinds of things going on at the time, dumping tea into Boston Harbor. People were complaining about having to pay taxes, no taxation without representation. So here's the voting. Okay, because when you're a colony of the British, you didn't get to vote. Now, the U.S. was settled by people from Spain. Christopher Columbus is from Spain. He's really from Italy, but he was exploring for the king and queen of Spain. Of course, we have the British, who ended up getting the lion's share of the colonies. And we have the Dutch. Peter Stuyvesant came to New York. And do you know that Wall Street was built by Peter Stuyvesant to keep all the rabble out? So it was like apartheid in Manhattan, walled off a part of the city for the privileged. And we had the French. French had parts of the South. And so we had the French, the British, the Spanish, the Dutch, and the British ended up getting the lion's share of the colonies. and then eventually got the French colonies as well in the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. So, anyway, so we're celebrating freedom. Freedom from no taxation without representation, no tyranny. However, at the time of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776, slavery existed in the colonies. Slavery was legal. The founding fathers of the country, such as Jefferson and Washington and I don't know who else, they had slaves. So, what about freedom from tyranny? Freedom in general. Slaves were not free, and they were not, depending on who was your slave master, where you were, they might have had not too bad a life, or they could have had a horrible life. And slaves had no freedom. They had no rights to protect their children. Their children could be sold out from under them at the whim of whoever owned them. So, we declared independence. We want freedom for everybody, but slavery existed in the colonies, and that was a problem. So when they wrote the Constitution, they did not grant freedom to all the slaves. They not considered them citizens. We also had indentured servants, people who had come here unable to pay for the cost of traveling to the New World, so they became indentured to someone who could pay their fare, and they were indentured tied to that person for a period of time, and then they had to work off the fare, and then they eventually got their freedom. Okay, but the slaves never got their freedom. And then the Native Americans, they were here, and the land was stolen from them by all these colonists and conquistadors. They didn't have any rights. So we have, but it was their land. How dare the British come here and steal their land, and how dare the revolutionaries of 1776 declare independence from England and declare their freedom. They want their freedom, yet they had slaves, and they weren't giving slaves their freedom or their rights. So that's a very, very strange situation, but that's the way it happened. But July 4th is based on freedom. So how can we celebrate July 4th when so many people at the time did not have any freedom? They were slaves, or they were indentured servants, or they were free, but they were in danger from the colonists and who had not taken their land. So, very bad situation, but that's the way it was. So on July 4th, we're supposed to celebrate independence. Independence from whom? Seems to me like those who were taxpayers of the time in the 1700s did not want to pay taxes to the British. So they revolted, and they got enough people to go along with them so they could have a revolution and declare independence and create a new country. Now, we have this coronavirus here that people are getting sick from and dying from. And what were the thoughts of those who were our leaders when the country was formed? Well, George Washington, for one, believed in quarantining someone who had an illness to protect everyone. At that time, I believe yellow fever was prevalent in the colonies. And yellow fever was spread by mosquitoes, mosquito bites. And it was not a virus such as we have now, the coronavirus, or like smallpox. So anyway, but they did put in practice all kinds of methods of protecting people, such as quarantining people, washing hands, covering the face, etc. And that was back in 1700. Now here we are in 2020, and we can't get our leaders to declare that we have a serious health problem with this coronavirus, and declaring a national health emergency and locking down the country to stop the spread of the disease. and putting in a national policy to get all the healthcare equipment and personal protective equipment that's needed to everybody who needs it, and Trump's trying to make a profit off of it. And for not having a national testing policy so we know who is being tested and where and what the results are. We have states where the virus is surging, like Texas and Arizona and Florida and California. California did a good job, but for some reason the virus is surging now because people are not obeying the guidelines of practicing social distancing, wearing a mask, only going out when you have to. They're going to the beach, they're going to parks, they're going to bars and restaurants. Terrible. And that's how this virus is spreading, because people don't want to take it seriously. And we have leaders in Washington, Trump and his administration, they're not following the guidelines of the National Institutes of Health and the Centers for Disease Control. They've even stopped having the briefings about the coronavirus. And Trump has now stopped going to them. No one in charge is to say we have a national health emergency. We have to do something about it. And Trump won't even wear a mask in public, and his Vice President Pence is doing that now. But Trump is holding these rallies. He had one in Tulsa. Members of the Secret Service who are there to protect him have come down with the virus, as well as his campaign staffers. That was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Arizona. There was events, people there getting sick from the virus, and that is not good. And he's had this rally in South Dakota, which has a friendly Republican governor supporting him in every way possible. He's having this rally last night in South Dakota. He's blaming all the problems on the media and the Democrats and the liberals, but the virus doesn't know anything about political parties or geography. It's just there, and it's an equal opportunity disease. It strikes whoever they come in contact with, no matter what. They don't care about your age, your gender, or your political affiliations, or religion, or race, or anything. So it's there. And the South Dakota, Mount Rushmore, where he's had this rally, that belongs to the Lakota people, a Native American tribe. It's their land, and it was officially deemed belonging to them by the Supreme Court in various rulings. So we shouldn't be in South Dakota at the Mount Rushmore that belongs to the Native Americans. And Mount Rushmore has the kind of statues chiseled into the face of the mountain. And these people that it's honoring are slaveholders and members of the Confederacy, and they're slaveholders. Really nice people. But that's what Trump likes to do. Those are his people, and that's how he's appealing to his base. Isn't that wonderful? And he's our president. He's like this guy in Johnson in England, and Putin in Russia, and Bolsonaro, I think that's how you pronounce his name, in Brazil. They don't think this virus is serious. They don't really care. They're interested in having power, and they're interested in their bank account. So they're celebrating the 4th of July by not giving equal treatment and rights to everybody, by promoting segregation, apartheid-like lifestyle, and putting people at danger. Because Trump's traveling all around doing his rallies. He's in, I think he's in Texas for a rally. So he's been to Texas, something like that. And Texas has a real surge in cases. And the governor of Texas, Governor Abbott, finally realized that the virus is real, and he put in a national mask policy. And it looks like a lot of these states are having a real surge. They may go back to a state lockdown. We really need a national lockdown. So on the 4th of July, we do not have very good news. Very good news. We still have police brutality against people of color. And so George Floyd was a man, African-American man, who was killed by a Minnesota police officer, and that lit the spark that started all the protests against the police, the way they treat people, and also against the policies of this administration, the way they're treating people, and say it's okay to put someone in a chokehold. Doesn't matter if they say I can't breathe. That's tough. So this is how we're celebrating the 4th of July in the year 2020. It's a very sad state of affairs. So we all have to be active and vigilant and do something. Vote. Support issues and candidates you believe in. Do something. Contact your members locally and statewide and nationally. And another issue that kind of like fade a little bit from the limelight is the post office. The post office is still struggling financially because of a law that was put into effect in 2006 after the Republicans lost their majority in the U.S. House of Representatives, and they put this law to kind of hobble the power of the post office, trying to force them to pay retirement benefits to all their employees decades in advance. That was in 2006. That was during the lame duck session. Then we got a new president in 2008, Democratic president, who also won again in 2012. Unfortunately, the Democratic presidency and the Democratic majority in the House and the Senate in those years did not do anything to repeal this terrible law passed by the Republicans. We really must support the post office. It's a very popular government agency. It was started by Benjamin Franklin before we even had a country, and we must ensure its prosperity. If they need a loan, let them have a loan. You're giving everyone else a loan. Why not give the post office a loan? And change these policies. Let the post office have postal banking. There's so many people that can't do banking because they can't afford the fees charged by the banks all over the country just to have a simple checking account or a simple savings account. And we also need, the post office can provide all kinds of services in addition to postal banking, but this law passed in 2006 does not allow them to. So we have to fix that. And I think it's up to all of us. Okay? All right. Now I think it's time for a little song. All right, everyone. I have a song picked out. I don't know the exact name of it, but this is a song where I know the words. There's 2 verses. Love, fear not if sad thy dreamings all through the night, though cast bright stars are gleaming all through the night. Joy will come to thee at morning light, with sunny hope adorning those that dreams may give, dark warnings all through the night. Angels watching ever round thee all through the night, in thy slumbers close around thee all through the night. They should of all fears disarm thee, no foreboding should alarm thee. They will let no perils harm thee all through the night. Okay, hope you like that. I didn't write, I don't know who wrote that. I'm not the composer, but I think it's a nice little song. Hope you enjoyed it. Now, hope to see you all back here again tomorrow evening for another meeting with Carol Ann Speaks, the State of Our World. Now remember, stay safe, take care of yourself, take care of others. And remember, kindness goes a long way. Kindness goes a very long way. So this is Carol Ann Speaks signing off on Saturday, July 4th, 2020. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Stay safe. Hope to see you tomorrow. Good night.